everybody. A busy week here at the Local 5 Weather Lab. A lot going on. We had some freezing rain yesterday morning. Luckily, it didn't impact the morning commute that much because road temperatures were at freezing or just above freezing. So we saw 1/10 of an inch of ice at the airport yesterday. Typically, that can cause really some massive travel problems, especially right during the morning commute nonetheless. Luckily, again, road temperatures were a little bit too warm for that to happen. But today, of course, much colder out there. Some of the coldest temperatures we've seen so far this year. It's 13 degrees right now in Des Moines. We might get out of the teens. I'm forecasting a high of 20 degrees later on today just because of that cloud cover that's just kind of, hanging over our heads so far today. Look at that. We're still in the single digits up to the north. It still feels like -7 degrees up in Fort Dodge, just about 20 after 10 this morning, still in the teens in southern Iowa as well. But we are tracking the chances for some evening commute impacts tonight from a quick-hitting snow system. Can't call it a snowstorm, really. 1 to 2 inches of snow possible across the metro. I think Warren and maybe Marion County as well might see the greatest snowfall totals from this. Maybe 2 to 3 in some isolated spots down there just south of Indianola, Knoxville, Pella as well. We'll call it a 2 out of 5 on the winter threat level. It could be raised to a 3 just because of the timing of this. Let's time it all out for you right now with Futurecast. So still in the teens through 11 a.m. This might be overdoing the temperatures just a little bit. Then we'll stop it later on here at 2 o'clock. You can see the snow starting to inch its way closer. This is yes, it's a quick moving system, but it's also not that big of a system either. So it's going to be in here and out of here pretty quickly. Here's 3:30. The snow starting to move its way into the metro, southern Polk County as well as Warren County, Newton as well. Jasper County might get an inch or two out of this as well. And then here's probably when it's going to peak between about 4 and 4:30, maybe also into 5 o'clock as well. You can see temperatures well below freezing. We'll have no problem with this all being snowfall. No wintry mix is expected from any of this at all. The snow will finally get its way out of here. I say finally because it's, again, like I said, it's coming during really the most inconvenient part of the day during the evening commute. 7 p.m. still holding in the teens or low 20s across the area. So how much snow are we thinking? Well, it's going to depend where that narrow band sets up. I drew this kind of racetrack looking oval here just south. It does kind of include the metro you see there in southern and southeastern Polk County. That's where we could see, snowfall values between 2 and 3 inches, locally higher amounts possible than just the trace to 2 inches you see there on the map. Kind of these darker blues in here, right there, right in Warren County, down close to Sheraton as well. And then Jasper County. The most narrow range is out there in Newton because all the models kind of agree that Jasper County will get between an inch or two. You can't rule out maybe getting 2.5 inches out there. If I had to pick a spot that's probably going to get the most amount of snow, it's probably right down in here, just south of the metro, maybe between Indianola and Knoxville. So again, it's coming during the worst time of the day. Here's what a different model thinks. So that was kind of this one you just saw was kind of a manually drawn one that we drew this morning. Here's the one that strictly the short-range model thinks. I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, you see the blues aren't quite as similar to what that last model showed, but they're still kind of in that Warren County into Madison County line with about 1.5 inches of snow here in Des Moines. I'm not quite sure about an inch down in Ottumwa, maybe a trace down there to 1/2 inch. This is not really a problem along the US 20 corridor, so places like Fort Dodge, Iowa Falls are going to stay dry throughout this system. Then there's Saturday. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about Saturday because there's still a few days to kind of iron out the details there. A snowstorm is possible, and southeast Iowa probably has the best chance of seeing the heavier snowfall, if you will. I think significant snow definitely seems likely somewhere in Iowa, and of course to get significant snowfall, it's got to snow pretty much really the entire day. I'll show you this real quick. I think it kind of delineates well that southeast Iowa has the best chance of seeing heavy snow. That does include Des Moines, as you see. Fort Dodge, areas to the northwest of the metro. I'm not saying you're not going to see any snow at all, but in terms of potentially seeing that significant snowfall, I think it's definitely around and southeast of the metro. Kind of the bullseye right now being painted by the models. It's kind of this in Ottumwa, Oskaloosa, south of Cedar Rapids area, including Grinnell, but mainly a little bit south of Grinnell, of course, where Oskaloosa is. So let's try this out with one model. Again, we're kind of focused mainly on Wednesday, so I'm going to get back to Wednesday after we show you this forecast model. This low pressure is not even formed yet. Of course, it's still 3 days away. So that's what makes this system a little bit more tough to forecast because we're still several days away. The models are still essentially guessing where that low is going to form across the southern plain states. But then you see here we stopped it at 9 a.m. Those are some pretty dark blues co-located right over central and southeastern Iowa. Again, I think this type of southeast third or quarter of the state is probably in the biggest bullseye right now in terms of where the models think. And there you can see from our snowfall accumulation graphic, this has started to inch a little bit further toward the northwest, closer to the metro. But I think the snowfall gradient with this system is going to be very large. Obviously in the northwest end, going to get a dusting to a trace. Some places might get at or over a foot from this system because it's a very potent system. It's going to bring severe weather to portions of the Gulf states. Here's the differences within the models. These have definitely backed off in terms of the differences within the past day or so. But again, we got to get through today first because today is the evening commute day, if you will. So I'm going to pull up the maps right now. I'm going to get us back to the kind of the forecast for today because I do think today, Saturday is still a few days away. Some people go. Good thing is, of course, the kids are off school today still, at least most people, through New Year's. So don't have to worry about the bus ride home from school or parents picking the kids up from school because you see 3 o'clock, 3:30 here. That's typically prime leaving school time. And the good thing is, of course, most everybody is still out of school for the next. Really through next week. I know DMPS goes back next week. So 3:30, I'm going to roll this through a little bit further. You see kind of the darkest blues are kind of located over Des Moines between about 4 and 4:30. Places north of US 30 really may not see any snow at all. I think US 20 stays dry. You see this model keeps all the snow south of Fort Dodge and Iowa Falls. So overall, it's a pretty quick hitting. This started showing up on the models on Sunday. Very weak kind of signature, if you will, that was shown by the models on Sunday. Obviously, that has increased a little bit as we've gotten closer to the event. A couple days ago, it seemed like, it's just an inch or so, probably during the middle of the day. Well, now that's kind of changed to an inch or two later on during the day, of course, during rush hour. I think, of course, we're well above or well below freezing, I should say. So anything in terms of snowfall or anything in terms of the precipitation type, sleet, snow, rain, freezing rain, pretty clear it's going to be snow out there. I'm going to pull up that snowfall map one more time. Kind of in that blue oval shaded region, maybe not quite that far south into the Lamoni area, but definitely Sheraton could get an inch or so of snow. Anywhere really within that blue blue outlined region, if you will, is where we're most worried about seeing the greatest amounts of potentially 2 to 3 inches possible. That would really cause some travel difficulties for your evening commute. Yeah, so that's about, that's kind of the gist of this one. I think, we've only had a half an inch so far at the Des Moines airport, and we could really double that today if we get over an inch. We showed you this model earlier. This model has us at, an inch and a half? Yeah, right at an inch and a half. About an inch in Newton, but you see the darkest blues are actually just to the south of the metro there in northern and northeastern Warren County, maybe into Knoxville as well. I think Indianola might be the quote-unquote jackpot with this storm that sees the greatest amounts of snowfall. But, the snowfall gradients can be pretty big. You see a quarter of an inch in Perry, maybe a dusting in Boone, a quarter of an inch down in Lamoni, close to a half an inch in Sheraton, and then an inch in Ottumwa. Again, I think that Ottumwa number might be a little bit overinflated, if you will. But the reason why we're kind of doing this now is because we haven't really, it's December 29th. We haven't seen over an inch of snowfall at the Des Moines airport yet. And ironically, it's going to change today with a very small and fast-moving system. So, that's kind of the kind of where we're at, I guess, in terms of, there's the weirdness about this month because, we had the derecho back a couple weeks ago on the 15th, hit 74 degrees, the all-time December record high temperature. And now, finally, 2 weeks later to the day, on the 29th, we are talking about snowfall. We'll have more, of course, on Local 5 News at midday. I'm going to go through Saturday one more time here. Southeast Iowa definitely has the best chance of seeing, the greatest snowfall accumulations from this system. This is probably going to be the first really punch in the gut, if you will, to say, hey, winter is here. Especially, I want to show you the temperatures for this weekend because the temperatures are definitely more of a certainty at this point than the amount of snow we'll get. Southeast Iowa, southeast half, if you will, best chance for seeing that pretty significant snowfall. We've already shown you this graphic and this one. I'm going to skip ahead. Here we go. Yeah, so this is going to be the coldest air so far by far that we have seen. Today's the first time in the 20s since back in February. So it's been almost 10 months since we've seen air this cold during the day, if you will, at least. Here are the forecast highs for today. Yeah, 20 degrees in Des Moines and in Ames. Still staying in the teens up there in northern Iowa. But yeah, look at this. Look at New Year's weekend's forecast. High of 10 degrees. And you see here that the low Friday night on New Year's Eve is 10 degrees. And the high New Year's Day is 10 degrees too. You're like, how does that happen? Well, the thing is, it's going to be so cloudy. Probably it's looking very snowy on Saturday to the point where that temperature is basically going to flatline the whole day and not really move. It's actually going to dip down during the morning. 10 degrees is going to be what it's at about 5 a.m. Then by 9 or 10 a.m., it's going to dip down into the middle single digits. And when that happens, what that does is the water or the air can't hold as much water when the air is that cold. So that increases the snow to water ratios. So yeah, we're only going to see probably, let's say we see a half an inch of snowfall out of this. So typically the ratio is 10 inches of snow per 1 inch of water. So you do the math there. That's what? Half an inch of water, half a foot of snow, essentially, maybe a little bit less since it's 10 to 1 and not 12 to 1. The problem is this time, since the ratios are higher, a half an inch of water translates into 8, 9, potentially even 10 inches of snow. So it's going to be probably a light, fluffy snow, not really a good snowmaking snow, or a snowman making snow, I should say. Or really, it's a good sledding snow. It's going to get packed down really easily because it won't have a lot of water content really in it. But yeah, there's our New Year's weekend forecast. It's we were due for kind of, winter to kind of rear its head back into us, and here it is. I'm going to go back to current temperatures because it's kind of hitting us like a bus today. It still feels like 2 degrees here in Des Moines. You see that 15-degree reading in Perry. Maybe the wind is a little bit lessened out there, if you will, closer to Perry. The wind is not that bad today. It definitely could feel a lot worse. It still feels like -7 in Fort Dodge. I'm going to pull up the wind speeds here just for a quick second to show you that, hey, yeah, the winds are there, but it definitely could be a lot worse here. There they are. Everyone below 10. Yeah, just about everyone's below that 10-mile-per-hour range in sustained wind speed. So you see that little kind of patch in the winds there. That's where Perry is, of course, out in Dallas County. So the wind's not as bad in Dallas County, but still 5, 10-mile-per-hour winds. It's not gusty or breezy by the definition of the words. Still not a very comfortable day to be outside. Tomorrow and Friday will bounce back into the 30s, which is, of course, good news. Average high for this time of year is in the low 30s anyway. So I guess we're getting back to where we should be, if you will. So we'll probably hang out. We'll hang around here until probably 10:35, 10:40, another 5 minutes before we get ready for Local 5 News at midday. We'll kind of continue unpacking all of this. Next week, I'll pull up the 10-day forecast here real quick just to show you that, hey, this week is kind of crazy with today's snowfall. That's the wrong graph. Here we go. Yesterday's freezing rain, today's snow, Saturday's snow, but then, hey, look at that. First work week of 2021, we are quieting down. Might even get a little bit above average there on Wednesday. Highs right around that 40-degree mark. Another front probably comes through the latter half of the week. Not sure about its impact yet in terms of precipitation. We got plenty of time to kind of iron that out, but definitely drops us down to below average. Some of the models, I think, depending on how much snowfall, we see on Saturday, that can drive the low temperature down on Sunday night, or Sunday morning, I should say. We could be dealing with low temperatures in the double digits below zero. There are several models that think that. Let's hope that doesn't happen, of course. It's kind of crazy. We haven't even had our first single-digit low temperature in Des Moines yet, but hey, we'll have our first negative single-digit temperature in Des Moines before we have the positive one. Just kind of a crazy conundrum there. And also that 10-degree low and 10-degree high, the temperature is just going to stay the same way pretty much the whole day with clouds and snow ongoing across much of the state here. Let's pull back up. Let's bring back up the snowfall map for today. A lot of different, so as we kind of get closer to the event actually happening, as in Saturday or as in today, we get more models that come in that kind of show us exactly where. I'm going to pull up the second snowfall graphic. This is a model that only runs 14 hours out into the future. So this is not a model that we could use, hey, let's put it on Saturday and see how much this model thinks, because this is a pretty tight snowfall gradient. I mean, 1.5 inches in Des Moines, 1/4 inch in Perry. Those obviously not that far apart, 20, 30, 40 miles. Unfortunately, of course, the problem is this model only goes out for 12, 13, 14 hours. So we kind of have to, that's why it's kind of a wait and see process. We've kind of narrowed down that along or just south of I-80 in central Iowa has the best chance of getting that 2 to 3 inches. Just don't want you to be surprised as you head out from work later today at 3 or 4 o'clock and you say, okay, what happened here? We had freezing rain yesterday, very cold temperatures today. I'm hearing about Saturday, but what's this? What's this happening on Wednesday in the middle of the week? But here we are. So I think this could be one of those situations where Ankeny, Johnston, Story City, anywhere north of the metro, but still kind of within the metro, if you will, Story City, northern Story County, but anywhere north of I-80 could get a dusting, a 1/2 inch. Nothing really that crazy when we saw a 1/2 inch back 3 weeks ago on the first Friday in December. But it could be a situation where Pleasant Hill or Indianola or the airport, somewhere south of the city, Norwalk, get 1 inch or 2 of snow, but the northern half of the metro, like Ankeny, gets a dusting or a 1/2 inch. It's going to be that kind of a tight pressure, not a pressure gradient, but a snowfall gradient, how much we end up seeing. I think one last time, I think Warren County, Marion County, I think either Indianola or Knoxville will probably end up, I should say, with the highest totals of snowfall by the time we're all set and done later today. We'll take a look at Saturday one more time. We have to be careful with these types of systems, especially since it's the first really big snowmaker of the year, if you will. I think somewhere in Iowa we'll probably see around 1 foot of snow by the time we are all set and done Saturday night, because this model has been pretty consistent in driving the low pressure across central Missouri. We're on the north side of the low pressure system, so that brings snow around to us. You see how tight these are called isobars. Those are lines of constant pressure. The closer these are together, as opposed to up here where they're pretty far away, the closer these are together, the stronger the winds are. Basically, the more unsettled the atmosphere is, the more unhappy it is. So instead of sneezing or instead of blowing your nose, it creates a lot of wind instead. This is not meeting blizzard criteria. There definitely could be some winds at or over 30 miles per hour on Saturday. But the first thing before we even get to that point is to, of course, figure out, if you will, where the heaviest band of snowfall will set up. I think this model is doing this is actually an ensemble blend, which means it brings a lot of models together, kind of spits out a solution that averages them all out, if you will. I think with where the guidance is right now, where the model solutions are right now, south of I-80 definitely has the best chance of seeing some heavy, some pretty significant accumulating snowfall. That's not to say, hey, US 20 Fort Dodge up to Iowa Falls, Hardin, Franklin County, let's say, oh, you guys are going to completely miss out on the snow. Not saying that. We're just saying that the heaviest snowfall band right now is really favored south of I-80. We'll keep an eye on it as we get closer. Shanu and I are going to get ready for Local 5 News at midday. We'll keep unpacking all this, and more models are coming in kind of by the minute. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back probably tomorrow with another live stream.